In this Algebra 2 video, I'm going to look at Concept 8, which is solving equations. And all 6 of these problems, starting at 19 up through 24, fit this concept, but I'm going to look at just 3 of these. I'm going to look at numbers 20, 21, and 22. So number 20, I'm going to write down here. I don't have a lot of room here, so I'm going to write it here. 25x squared minus 4 equals 0. And to solve this, if this 4 had an x, it would be a lot more difficult. We'd have to do some factoring, maybe even quadratic formula. But because it doesn't have an x, what I can do is I can move this to the right side of the equation by adding it. So I get 25x squared equals 4. And then I can divide by that coefficient 25. That cancels, gives me x squared equals 4 over 25. And you can't reduce 4 over 25. So here, when you get here, to solve for x, if I have x squared, I can take the square root of both sides. That cancels the square on the left, gives me x. Now on this side, when I take the square root, that'll give me 2/5. I'm taking the square root of both the top and the bottom. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 25 is 5. And remember that could be plus or minus, because you could have negative 2/5 times negative 2/5 to give you this 4 over 25. So here for number 20, my answer, my solution will be x equals plus or minus 2/5 for that one. Number 21, 13x cubed equals 26x. Now initially it looks kind of weird because you have the x's, but what I'm going to do to make it a little bit simpler in the beginning, I'm going to divide both sides by x. That'll cancel here. It leaves me with just 26. Now here, when I have it on the bottom of this one, 1x, x to the first, will cancel with one of these x cubed, or one of the x's from up top. So it'll be 3 minus 1 from your exponent rules. Leaves me with 13x squared. Divide by the coefficient 13. Gives me x squared equals, that gives me 2. And same as last time, the square root of both sides. Here, it doesn't give me a nice square root. On this one, I was able to take the square root of both numbers, but here I can't do that. It's going to give me a decimal. So I can just leave it as x equals plus or minus the square root of 2, and that's a good final answer here. 22 is the last one I'll look at. In 22, make it a little bit harder because now you have multiple x's, then you have this constant term with no variable on it. So when we see that, 3x squared plus 32x, whoops. Usually what we're going to do is we will take this and move it to the other side of the equation. Minus 11 equals 0. Now at this point you have an option. You can try to factor it, or you can just go right into quadratic formula. And I usually try to factor first, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the diamond first. 3 times negative 11 is negative 33, positive 32 on the bottom. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to give me that and add to give me that, which does work. I can do 33 and negative 1. Because of those, multiply give me negative 33, add them, you get 32. So I'm going to start with 3x squared, and then I'm going to put 33 next plus 33x, and then instead of, again, this 32x is getting split into 33x and this minus 1, so it becomes negative 1x minus 11 on the end. And the reason I'm doing this is so I can factor by grouping. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to split down the middle, and I'm going to look at each set of these as a factoring problem. I'm going to look at a common factor for each set. For this set, my common factor is 3x, because I can take a 3 out of everything, and x is common to both terms. And when I do that, I get x plus 11 on the inside. 33 divided by 3 gives me that 11. Now I'm taking an x off of each term. Now what I'm hoping is that this parentheses, when I do the same thing over here, gets me x plus 11 also. So here in front of this x, I've got a negative 1. I'm going to take that negative 1 out. I'm going to make it x here. This divided by negative 1, negative 11 divided by negative 1 is positive 11. And that's what I want. Notice that these two now match. So now, my factored form, the first coefficient is 3x. The second one on this side is negative 1. There's my first term. And then my second term comes from x plus 11 was the factors that matched, equals 0. Now I still haven't solved it, because remember that we're looking for an answer for x. So now I'm going to put each of these factors equal to 0. I'm going to take this minus 1, I'm going to add it to both sides. And then I'm going to divide, which gives me a fraction 1/3. And here it's just subtracting 11. There's my second answer. So my two solutions for this are going to be -11 and +1/3 for x in number 22.